In this lesson, I'm going to share my story of how I failed big time at bullet journaling, and then how I got to here, fully loving it and creating a course so that you can start your own practice. My hope is my story will inspire you to try out bullet journaling without fear or confusion, especially if you've ever struggled to get things done or even tried and failed at bullet journaling before yourself. I first came across bullet journaling in 2012. I don't remember how, I just remember being drawn to these little black notebooks with tiny, neat little handwriting in them. At the time, bullet journaling was framed to me as a way to turn any notebook and turn it into your own personal hub, combining planners, notebooks, and project managers all into one. I found the instructions on Ryder Carroll's website, but the problem is I got really excited about the gist of the idea without really fully listening to his ideas about the full system of the bullet journal and how it could all work together. And therefore, I did a sort of half-assed job getting it set up. I made things very complicated and unrealistic for myself. I couldn't keep up. I rejected it after 2 weeks. And then I felt guilty every time I spotted my moleskin and remembered how long it took me to number all those still blank pages. I added my bullet journal to the burn pile of planners I had bought and abandoned and accepted that I would never live a planned day in my whole life. That didn't stop me from buying planners and notebooks and whiteboards and list pads and task management apps. It just let me forgive myself easily when I would crash and burn a few days in. It's just how I am, oh well. Self-forgiveness and acceptance are awesome, but there was still a fairly big pain point in my life. I was chronically procrastinating work tasks and things that I had already committed to, which in itself is painful. But I also had literally no idea how to dedicate any steam towards tasks that were important to me but not urgent. If you don't know about it, Eisenhower's urgent important principle can be a nice way to break down tasks based on their level of urgency and personal importance. So for example, a client project that's urgent but not terribly personally important on my calendar could derail me for weeks, meaning I spent weeks unhappy and sort of nervous, showed up last minute for the project with resentment or just cruising on a burst of urgency, and then I would need time to recuperate after, only to find myself in the fire of something else that I had said yes to. What about my not urgent but important to me dream of being a lettering artist? What about all the not urgent but important to me books on my shelf that I had wanted to read? I spent years in this shameful fog, procrastinating my days away, keeping things barely afloat, and watching my own wasted potential stare at me and say, "Why can't you just try harder?" I was diagnosed with ADHD in 2020, and if you don't know what that means, it means that my brain didn't fully develop my executive functions. Things that make it possible for people to direct or inhibit their attention, plan and prioritize, access verbal and nonverbal memory, and more. It meant my struggles maybe weren't because I was the laziest loser on earth, and it was actually because my brain had checked out and said, I'm good at basic life endeavors. Basically, ADHD means prioritizing is hard and doing things is hard, and consistency isn't a thing. And if I may share an opinion, if you are a creative person and you don't have ADHD, you may as well have honorary ADHD. Your brain may not have impaired executive functioning, but my guess is that you're no stranger to the resistance and shame that I'm talking about. I have good news. I think bullet journaling is helpful for all of our creative brains, and if you have ADHD, you're no exception. But as I was saying, I do have ADHD, and so often my brain will put this invisible wall between me and the things that I could and often want to be doing. Since my diagnosis, I've spent a lot of time getting to know ADHD and practicing skills that help support my executive non-functioning brain. I even used a planner that first year of diagnosis for 11 entire months. I was finding a way to make progress and showing up for more things. But if I'm honest, I was still relying on a lot of urgency to do things, instead of desire, fun, or curiosity. This year, I was at the library when I saw Ryder Carroll's book on bullet journaling in a pile of just returned books. It's like my body said yes before my mind did. I slapped the book on the top of my pile and cracked it open on the patio that day. Finally reading about this system that I had failed at and pined for was a revelation. The problems he laid out resonated deeply, and his arguments for bullet journaling felt nothing short of genius. It was the middle of April, and I decided to buy another little black journal and try again for May. For 4 months now, I've been bullet journaling. It's a place that holds my ideas, my work tasks, the foods I ate last month, the foods I hope to eat this year, my passing whims, my lasting whims, and any and everything. This summer, while enjoying the desert heat and turning in some of my best client work, I also dreamed up, wrote, and turned in a book pitch to my agent. This summer, I got things done and paid the bills, and I also remember smelling mandarins as I peeled them. I stared at the sky, drew the phases of the moon, and sent birthday cards on time to only the people I felt were worth it. My bullet journal holds on to notes from YouTube videos and doesn't judge me if I never read them again. It is a living, working thing as unique as I am. We'll talk about the benefits of bullet journaling in the next lesson, but as it pertains to my story, bullet journaling has improved my experience of my day-to-day life as a creative person with ADHD. The best I can describe it is life felt pretty staticky and overwhelming before, especially when I found myself with big chunks of time and no one urging me to do something. Monday mornings used to be awful, and this is coming from someone who works from home for a business that they started. But now my days feel calmer and full of accessible potential. It feels like things can move. My days all feel different, yet I wake up knowing and trusting that I'll find the day as it comes. I know I'll move a little bit closer to the things that are important to me, and I'll be present for the day. I used to wonder, how do people know what to do with their day? And now I'm one of those people that just kind of knows and does, and it's not a huge deal. I'm not a productivity machine, yet bullet journaling has helped me be more productive, a freaking miracle for this ADHD-riddled brain. But more than that, it helped me be present and better experience this life I get to live. In the next lesson, we'll discuss the benefits of bullet journaling.